Over the last few years, I've become fascinated by mini PCs. As a concept, they make a lot of sense. If you want to emulate, say, Dreamcast or Super Nintendo, the last thing you're going to want to do is drop close to $1,000 on a mid-range gaming PC that's going to take up a fair amount of space. That's the whole hook of the mini PC gaming boom. They're almost the anti-PC in that regard. Gone is the size and cost, and what you're left with, if it's done right, is a device that's capable of impressive feats on a much smaller scale. That's where the AYANEO Retro Mini PC AM01 comes in. Two versions of the devices are available, and for the purpose of this review, I went with the AMD Ryzen 3 3200U model rather than the AMD Ryzen 7 5700U. Why is that? Simply because, as a retro gaming guy, the device is not only cheaper, it's also perfect for most and what many users will want it for. Okay, let's dig into the specs a little bit. It goes without saying, the AMD Ryzen 3 3200U isn't cutting edge tech. It's an older chipset that isn't suitable for modern AAA gaming, but that's not a problem. With prices starting from $199, this device isn't designed to rival mid-range PCs or even something more portable like the Steam Deck. Think of the Ryzen 3 3200U as a more budget-friendly chipset that may not be capable of running Cyberpunk 2077, but will breeze through a lot of different emulators, indie games, and a decent whack of older PC games. It'll also work for basic PC usage. What's interesting here is despite the low-spec nature of the 3200U, AYANEO knows what it's doing. RAM comes in at 8GB or 16GB and can be upgraded all the way up to 32GB if you decide to. And the Retro Mini PC makes use of a fast M.2 2280 SSD, and your TDP can be increased up to 32 watts. Why does any of that matter? That's because AYANEO has done everything to make sure users can get every last little bit of juice out of the 3200U, resulting in a system that in practice is much more powerful than most would think. I know that the word mini is in the name of the device, but it's also worth talking about just how small this thing is. It's only 132mm by 132mm with a height of just 60.5mm. It's so small that it fits under a TV or monitor, or even on the TV stand itself if you want to. In short, unlike a gaming PC, it's not going to take up much space. AYANEO has also been smart with the placement of ports, so you can stand it up if you prefer it, or lay it down. On the front of the device, that's where you'll find a USB-C in port and the 3.5mm headphones jack. Flip the Retro Mini PC over and you'll spot the main power port, a single USB-A 2.0 flanked by a whopping 3 USB-A 3.2 Gen 2s, as well as the 1000 megabits per second Ethernet port, display port, and an HDMI out. And yes, having 3 3.2 USB ports is as great as it sounds. The transfer speeds are delicious. As I previously mentioned, the device is upgradable for those who want to push it further, and AYANEO has made it really simple to mod. Inside the 4 feet at the back are 4 Phillips head screwdrivers. Unscrew them and use a pick to pop off the back and you're inside the device. It's that simple. Those little feet I mentioned also do a solid job of keeping the main back vent clear. That said, there are also vents on the 3 sides, so the chances of completely blocking the airflow are going to be super low. How well does Windows 11 run on a smaller device? Surprisingly well, and it's made all the more fluid by the AYASpace software, although that's not without its problems. A quick recap for anyone new to AYANEO devices: AYASpace is AYANEO's custom interface that runs over the top of Windows 11. If you sync up an Xbox pad, AYASpace lets you control the entire system with just the controller. That's pretty cool in action and gets rid of the need to use a mouse and a keyboard, and if you're hooking it up to the TV, you know that's going to be useful. That said, I do wish it was more customizable. Let me give you an example. AYASpace uses the left stick to control the mouse and it operates on an acceleration protocol, i.e. the longer you hold a direction, the faster it moves. That means instead of getting used to a single speed and using muscle memory to adjust how far you need to press the left stick, you're constantly waiting for the mouse to go from slow to slightly quicker to get you where you need to be. That's not a major problem, but it does cause annoyance occasionally. You also can't use a PS5 controller with DS4 Windows and manually map your own settings because AYASpace overrides the profile. So if you are using controllers, you ideally need to be using an Xbox One or something that's compatible with AYASpace. AYASpace on the whole still needs some work, but it's also very close to being brilliant. Pressing a combo of up on the D-pad, R1 and R2 brings up the Steam Deck-like quick action menu. It's here you can access different profiles, change the TDP and frame rate, and a host of other Windows settings. This is a solid idea, and it's only hindered by needing to press the combo a second time to close it, which often results in changing a setting you didn't mean to. I am very aware there are several areas AYANEO needs to work on to let AYASpace reach its full potential. But, compared with something like Armory Crate on the Asus ROG Ally, what AYANEO is building is far, far superior, and offers users what they actually need at the click of a button. To say I'm impressed with the performance so far would be a massive understatement, and something I totally wasn't expecting. The Retro Mini PC isn't going to be playing Cyberpunk 2077 anytime soon. I tried. It took 10 minutes to get to the main menu. Don't do that. I was, however, able to play several older PC games and recent indie games like Vampire Survivors without any issues. And that's the whole point of the thing. It's the Retro Mini PC, a device designed for emulation enthusiasts who want high-end power in a budget package. And make no mistake, this thing is high-end when it comes to emulation. I do need to stress though, the emulators themselves are likely to be the biggest bottleneck here. How well do games run on the Retro Mini PC? Switch is currently out of the question, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. New Super Mario Bros. Chugged along at a sluggish 20 frames per second, which isn't great, but the fact it can hit that frame rate on this device is impressive nonetheless. From Switch, the next test had to be Wii U games, which again worked better than I was expecting. I was able to get Mario Kart 8 running at close to 60 frames per second by dropping the resolution down to 720p and changing shadows to low in Cemu. Breath of the Wild may be pushing it, but lighter Wii U games are likely to work if you're willing to drop the resolution somewhat. Just keep in mind, if you don't have a pre-made shader cache, every game will occasionally lag while a shader is being created. As a quick example again, with Mario Kart 8, once I got all the shaders for a specific track, everything worked without any stutters. In a similar vein, everything PSP-wise through the device worked well at 720p, with some games even managing to hit 1080p at 60 frames per second. It's the same for GameCube as well. PS2 did prove a little more problematic than I was expecting though, but I'd wager that's down to PCSX2 rather than the device itself. Some games will run without any issues, in full HD, while others need underclocking to hit the 60 frames per second target. 3DS emulation is pushing it, and will very much come down to individual game compatibility with Citra, but I was able to get some games running at full speed with an increased resolution. One quick tip, just be sure to turn off VSync in the settings, as that does cause major stuttering. Dreamcast, as with everything else, also runs beautifully, complete with widescreen support. Overall, when it comes to performance, the Retro Mini PC legit punches above its weight. It's not as powerful as the Steam Deck, but if you want something to hook up to your TV that packs in some serious power and won't take up much space, in my mind the Retro Mini PC is a solid, cheaper alternative. One quick note before I move on, if you don't want to configure each of the emulators on the Retro Mini PC, be sure to get EmuDeck, as that'll pre-configure all of the emulators for you. As someone who has been gaming on a Raspberry Pi 4 for years, I always wanted a Windows-based device that packs in more power. The Retro Mini PC is just that. Although it's twice the cost of the Raspberry Pi 5 and all the extras you'd need to turn it into a PC, that cost is justifiable tenfold. In my opinion, Windows 11 paired with AYASpace beat the hell out of Linux, and the extra power lets the Retro Mini PC emulate much more powerful systems. It's not perfect, of course, but the minor gripes and annoyances aren't enough to get in the way of everything this device does well. If you want high-end power that doesn't break the bank, the AYANEO Retro Mini PC comes very easy to recommend. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, and if you'd like to subscribe, that'd be awesome and really helps out the channel. Until next time, see ya.